Americans once made money in ways most people have completely forgotten, and they still work today. We have tracked down 11 of these buried income methods, ranging from coin-operated side businesses and seller-financed land deals to patriotic savings campaigns and home-based rental schemes that once kept entire families afloat. Some pulled in the equivalent of $1,000 a month in today's money. Others quietly built generational wealth, one quarterly dividend check at a time. A few were wiped out almost overnight by credit cards, zoning laws, or corporate consolidation, but not all of them. By the end of this list, you will see which ones still put cash in people's pockets and why the first one on our list has been doing exactly that since the Eisenhower administration. Number 1. Vending machine routes offered a cash flow model so steady and low-key that entire families quietly built their savings one coin at a time. In the 1950s, the vending industry moved over $2 billion in sales, an astonishing sum for the era. Operators ran small fleets of machines, usually 4 to 10, stocking snacks and sodas in factories, offices, and schools. A retired route owner's ledger from the early 1970s shows $75 to $100 net each week from just 4 machines, about $1,200 in today's dollars. Even now, a single modern vending machine can gross $150 to $400 a month, with net margins up to 35%. Startup costs range from $2,750 for a used unit to $10,000 for a cashless model. The business survived tightening health codes and the rise of convenience stores, and the basic formula remains as practical as ever. Find a location, keep the machine full, and collect the cash. In second place, department store layaway plans once bridged the gap for families who couldn't pay all at once. At Sears and Montgomery Ward, shoppers picked out a coat or bicycle, put down a 10% deposit, and paid the rest in small weekly installments. The store set aside the item, marking it with a slip, sometimes tucked right into the layaway drawer behind the counter. For retailers, layaway meant a steady trickle of payments and a reliable 5 to 10% profit margin, all without extending formal credit. In the 1940s and 1950s, catalog ads promoted layaway as a safe, respectable way to buy. But as private label credit cards arrived in the late 1970s, layaway faded. By the 1980s, most stores had quietly shelved the service, leaving only a memory of those handwritten slips and the satisfaction of paying off a purchase bit by bit. Third on our list, boarding house rentals once turned spare rooms into steady income for thousands of American families. In the 1920s, classified ads offered room and board for $3 to $6 a week, enough to cover groceries and still leave a little profit. The Elms in Willimantic, Connecticut stands as a clear example. Mill workers had $10 a month deducted straight from their paychecks to cover a furnished room and 3 daily meals. Most boarding houses were run by women who managed the books and cooked for boarders, creating both community and cash flow under one roof. But the model faded as zoning and fire codes tightened between 1955 and 1970, and as single-family suburbs drew people away. Today, the sense of shared space and mutual support feels almost foreign. The numbers tell a story. Teu. Boarders paid the bills and the owner kept the house afloat. Number 4. Contract for deed land sales offered a quiet path to home ownership in the Midwest from the 1920s through the 1960s. Instead of borrowing from a bank, buyers made monthly payments directly to the seller, who kept the legal title until the last dollar was paid. Interest rates ranged from 6 to 10%, higher than many bank loans but within reach for families banks wouldn't touch. The buyer moved in right away, handled property taxes and repairs, and every payment was logged in a deed recorded at the county courthouse. These records still sit in dusty archives from South Dakota to Texas, silent proof of a system that let ordinary people buy land without a mortgage. The rise of FHA loans and stricter state laws slowly pushed contract for deed into the shadows, but for decades, it was a lifeline for those shut out of the banks. Number 5. Coin-operated laundries once filled American neighborhoods with the steady clatter of quarters and the warm scent of soap. Rows of washers and dryers lined up in narrow storefronts, each machine a miniature cash register, earning $30 to $50 a week. That was enough to keep the lights on and pay the rent for thousands of small owners. The rhythm was simple: unlock the coin box, empty the heavy cup, and start fresh for another week. By the early 1970s, though, police blotters told a different story. Break-ins and coin thefts spiked, forcing many mom-and-pop operators to sell out to growing franchise chains. Insurance premiums soared, cutting margins to less than 10%. Today, smart laundry kiosks handle payments by app, but the old ritual of counting quarters and sweeping the floor at midnight lives on mostly in memory. Number 6. Series E war bond drives turned patriotism into a neighborhood savings campaign. During World War II, volunteers, often women, walked door to door with pledge cards, collecting promises from families to buy $25 bonds, a significant sum in the 1940s. Local newspapers in 1944 and 1945 published rosters of these volunteers and tallied household pledges, turning the act of saving into a point of civic pride. The National Archives still holds original pledge cards, some with handwritten notes and family names. Volunteers sometimes earned small commissions from the Treasury, but the real reward was social capital, names printed in the paper, a handshake from the mayor, or a pin for the lapel. As consumer credit expanded after 1950, these drives faded, but their door-to-door, community-powered model lives on in today's crowdfunding campaigns, just with a digital twist. Number 7. Neighborhood repair shops once formed the backbone of local, skill-based income, especially for returning GIs after World War II. In the years between 1945 and 1965, small ads in local newspapers offered appliance and handyman services at $2 to $3 per hour, which translates to about $20 to $30 today. These shops thrived on reputation and trust. A good word from a neighbor meant steady business fixing radios, refrigerators, or leaky roofs. Most owners worked out of a garage or a tiny storefront, relying on hands-on know-how rather than formal credentials. For many, these shops provided a reliable living and a sense of pride in practical problem-solving. By the 1970s, new licensing requirements and the arrival of big-box hardware chains made it harder for independents to compete. Today, the local fix-it shop is nearly extinct, replaced by gig apps and corporate service vans. The old model of earning through skill and trust still lingers in memory. Number 8. Pawn shop arbitrage turned everyday objects into quick cash and steady profit for generations of small operators. The model was simple: offer a short-term loan against a watch or wedding ring, then resell anything unclaimed at a markup. Before the mid-1960s, margins on pawned jewelry and tools often ran 15 to 30%. But as states passed second-hand dealer laws, like the 1965 statute that led to the first criminal prosecution in State versus Doe, profit margins shrank to under 10%. New licensing fees and strict record-keeping made it harder for small shops to survive. Pawn shop daybooks from that era show a steady churn of goods, each tagged and logged for the authorities. Today, the old trade echoes in online pawn apps, where digital escrow and state licensing keep the business alive, but the days of easy, high-margin flips are gone. Number 9. Small dividend-paying local stocks once offered a steady, community-rooted stream of income for ordinary Americans. After World War II, it wasn't unusual for families to buy shares in their hometown utility, railroad, or textile mill, often through local brokers who published handwritten stock bulletins. These shares paid out 4 to 6% in annual cash dividends, enough to cover a month's groceries or help with the mortgage. Investors would receive quarterly dividend checks, sometimes just a few dollars, and many kept the engraved certificates or torn dividend stubs tucked into a kitchen drawer or framed on the wall. This was paper income you could see and touch, tied directly to the fortunes of your own town. But as the 1960s mutual fund boom swept in and stock exchanges consolidated, these local opportunities faded. Today, the spirit of neighborly investment survives in community crowdfunding, but the ritual of collecting small, steady checks from a company down the street has nearly vanished. Number 10. Rent-to-own storefronts offered a way for families to bring home a new refrigerator or sofa with just a small down payment, often 10% up front. Then a year of steady installments. The contract spelled it out. Goods went straight into the customer's home, but ownership only passed after the last payment cleared. Store flyers from the 1960s boasted no credit check, easy weekly terms, but the real cost sat in the fine print, a 15 to 30% markup over the cash price, paid out over 12 months. As credit cards swept through American wallets in the 1970s, the old rent-to-own model lost ground. Margins shrank, and many stores either closed or morphed into today's buy now, pay later fintechs. The risk lingers, though. High markup installment sales have simply moved from Main Street to the digital checkout. And finally, in first place, spare room short-term rentals have revived an old American side hustle with a digital twist. Hosting guests through platforms like Airbnb now echoes the boarding house days, only with a smartphone dashboard and dynamic pricing. Host surveys show an average nightly rate of $85, with occupancy around 70%. After the platform's 3% fee, a well-managed room can clear $1,500 a month before expenses. But success depends on more than just clean sheets. City ordinances in places like Los Angeles require a registration permit, annual fees of $200 to $500, and strict compliance with insurance, HOA rules, and transient occupancy tax filings. Many hosts track every booking and payout through online dashboards, keeping a close eye on both revenue and legal requirements. This modern model delivers the strongest documented income potential on the list, proving that the old idea of turning extra space into steady cash is far from obsolete, just transformed by technology and regulation. Across all 11 methods, one pattern stands out. Everyday Americans once built security, not by luck, but by stacking small, steady hustles right from their living rooms and backyards. That quiet ingenuity didn't just fill pockets, it shaped the middle class. Sometimes lost wisdom is the richest lesson of all.